Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my program. Today is, of course, 12th of August, 3 p.m. Moscow time, middle of the day. And as always, I have prepared quite a number of news for this update on some major developments. Interesting news, in my opinion. Hopefully, you will find program interesting and informative also. And in that case, like the video, leave some commentary, share a word about existence of my channels, because man, algorithms and these platforms hate me and hate my content. YouTube literally killed my first update today. I mean, I published it around like 12:30, I guess, Moscow time, and it only got like 300 views or something, 400 views. Yeah, YouTube hated it, and I was predicting actually that this could happen because of the headline on the video, but it's a truthful headline, by the way. It's true there, right? So, but of course, algorithms they hate when there is certain content out there that don't align with their Western propaganda. Anyways, dear friends, if you will have a time, please give me a favor or do me a favor and click the like button on my first update today. Maybe that will help that video to reach at least members of our community, right? And also, I will remind you before I will go through news segment, that you can initiate conversation about any topic, literally, as long as it's not something illegal and crazy, of course. So you can initiate conversation about any topic that are relevant, of course. And you can send your question through PayPal platform or Boosty platform, or you can use Super Chat feature on Rumble. I will react on it in best of my abilities after the news segment, right? So, okay, that's being said. Unfortunately, there was no donations, no nothing since yesterday's live stream to highlight, so I can't highlight nothing if there was nothing, right? Maybe some other day. During the live stream, also possible, isn't it? Anyways, let's continue now. Let's continue, and I'm gonna start with good news. Good news for Russia, Russian people, Russian Federation, and all the supporters of ours all over the world. And good news is that Russian armed forces have established control over their Vadiana settlement in the Kharkov region. I remind you, dear friends, that yesterday I reported about two more settlements being liberated by Russian forces: Novое Polye in the Zaporozhye region and Shirbakovka in also Kharkov region. Let me show you on the map location of Vodiana first. So it's in the northern eastern part. Right here, by the way, this is the Vodiana area. This map that I use and I pay freaking money for it is already later. I mean, they have some lazy stuff, man, right? Whoever is building this map, whoever is doing it, they have some lazy stuff because they're already late with updates. This is the Vadiana settlement that is under Russian control. All of Russian Defense Ministry confirmed this information. Many other sources are reporting about it. Also, when it comes to this direction, as I predicted in my previous updates, dear friends, Russian troops exactly doing what I've said there, which is closing pincers from the west and the east. And according to several sources, Russian troops already entered Chornaya settlement, right? Probably in next 24 to 48 hours. In next day or two, by the way, this settlement will become under Russian control. Simultaneously, I expect Vasilievka settlement to be liberated in approximately same time frame, and it would not take more than a week or two max. And all these four settlements, Chornaya, Vasilievka, Blagodatna, and Nefyodovka, will be fully liberated by Russian troops, which means that Kiev regime's formations in this northeastern corner, and there are about dozen of settlements in this dozen of settlements that are there, gonna end up in a full encirclement, and the only way for them to survive basically will be to contact Russian forces, lay down arms, and surrender. Or as an alternative, well, they're gonna stay inside that land forever. So they will have to make a fundamental choice soon, right? And better they don't wait until they are in full encirclement, I think. Also, dear friends, when it comes to overall situation, Russian armed forces were very active for throughout the summertime, basically, but just in past several weeks in this particular direction. Russian troops liberated like dozen and more settlements. You can see on your screen right now all these stars indicate settlements that have been liberated by Russian forces, right? Uh, and now we are in a situation when soon at least a couple of thousand of Kiev regime forces going to end up in a full encirclement right there on most northern eastern corner of the Kharkov region. Same time, there are reports that Russian troops are beginning their advances from Volchansk, Lipsy area towards the Kharkov. So some major developments might take place in this direction also in fairly short time. Let's continue with some other news now. And well, in past several days, I was wondering what the hell is going on with the navigation in the Black Sea in regards to Russian maritime blockade on the Western-backed terrorist and Nazi Ukrainian regime, because there was no reports in the media or from Defense Ministry about any vessels that were attempting to bring in to Kiev regime any weapons or munition. There were no reports about any of those vessels being struck, and I was thinking, is this because there are no attempts to break through Russian maritime blockade, or Russian president ordered Russian militaries to ease the pressure, sort of, and allow vessels to get to ports in Odessa region, into Nikolaev region, after recent escalation by globalists through Turkey, which is a globalist proxy, of course, when Dardanelles and Bosphorus was basically not fully shut down, but navigation was restricted, and first and foremost for vessels that were heading towards Russia or from Russia, right? And I was thinking, did this pressure on Moscow worked or not? What's going on? Why we are not receiving reports about any strikes on any vessels, right, by Russian forces that are delivering certain goods to enhance military capabilities of Kiev regime? And well, we have today update news that I was waiting for actually, right? And this news is that Russian armed forces launched strikes on Ukrainian ports and the vessels used by Ukrainian armed forces. So therefore, I think we got the answer, at least in maybe not 100% answer, but at least indirect a hint that maritime blockade is still in force, right? Let's hope so. So Russian military forces struck Ukrainian ports and the vessels used by Ukrainian armed forces. The Ministry of Defense reported this was happening during the nighttime, and even there are no videos being provided, no photo evidences about these strikes on the vessels. Maybe throughout the day we will see something, or tomorrow, but at least we have some answer, right, on the question that I was raising. Did we lift maritime embargo on Ukrainian Nazi regime, or did we not? And I think we did not. And that blackmail campaign orchestrated by globalists through Turkey, with restriction of the navigation through Dardanelles and Gibraltar, through Dardanelles and Bosphorus, did not work. But yet again, I'm not yet 100% convinced, by the way. I need to see video confirmations of these bulk carriers being targeted by Russian forces that are delivering whatever to Kiev regime. Nevertheless, Russian president himself made today quite strong statements. I know, dear friends, nowadays very few people in this world, if anybody, it all takes seriously many statements that are coming from Moscow, because there were many strong statements in the past, many strong statements, many warnings, and Moscow never follow up on those strong statements that I'm talking about right now. So therefore, attitude is quite specific towards the statements from Moscow nowadays, understandably so. But still, by the way, it's a Russian president that makes statements, interesting, important statements. I think it worth our attention. So let me give you details now. So today is the final day of maritime exercises of Russian Pacific Fleet. Putin went there, right? On these final days, he was on a board of the vessel, Russian cruiser or something, right? He met with the sailors, with the commander of the fleet, and he stated, Russia will respond in kind to attempts to seize merchant ships. And I can give you a quote. The authorities of some countries are in violation of international maritime law are attempting to restrict the movement of our economic operations, operators' vessels, even peaceful ones, and have recently even considered seizing our vessels and selling the property they stole from us. This, of course, is nothing less than piracy and robbery. And if this is implemented, we will be forced to respond in kind, he said during the final phase of the Pacific Fleet exercises. Putin emphasized that Moscow will do this in any waters, including the Pacific region, where their potential for the conflict is growing due to Western actions. So basically, Russian president issued a warning, sort of, towards Western ruling class that if harassment of Russian vessels continues, if Russian vessels being hijacked, if goods that are on those vessels being stolen and sold by these hostile countries, then Russia will retaliate in kind. That's literally what he says. Russia will retaliate in kind. But I guess he meant that we will also seize vessels that are linked to those hostile countries. Now it's up to you. I mean, if you will believe that Putin will actually do this or authorize Russian militaries to do this or not. I have some doubts personally. I don't believe any of it, right? Honestly, it's an election campaign, by the way, here in Russia. We should not forget her. Late September, there are going to be elections. And of course, Putin and many other figures out there among political elites will say a lot of stronger words, right? But question is, do we take those words seriously or not? Do we trust them or not? And I certainly don't. Right, so that's the unfortunate reality. I have to say, man, that's the unfortunate reality that is being created by Putin himself, for example, because no one forced him to make strong statements before, either him or his inner circle or his officials. Right, there were so many strong statements, so many strong statements. I still remember, like a few years ago now, when Shoigu said, if NATO countries will provide long-range weapons to Kiev regime, and these long-range weapons are used against Russia, we will retaliate in kind, and we will do this and that. And did we retaliate? I mean, can you remind me, dear friends, when last time we struck Germany, or UK, or France, or Poland, or Finland, or Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Romania? When we last time struck those countries and all the others from collective West that are directly involved in this war against Russia? I don't know. I mean, I can tell you about Germany. Last time we struck Germany, when my grandfather was a young man in the Red Army, right? And were exterminating Nazi Germans and the allies of Nazi Germans, right? Together with his comrades. And that was during the Great Patriotic War, a long time ago. And since then, we did not strike none of those countries, neither Germany, neither any other. Correct? So therefore, obviously, no one should be surprised that there is very little, if any, trust in these strong statements from Russian leadership. But nevertheless, these statements deserve attention because who knows, maybe this time around they are serious about it. Maybe this time around they are serious about it. I think, as Western elites have done it quite a few times before, they will test Putin literally in next several days. They're going to seize Russian vessel, either in the Baltics, by the way, either in North Sea, or maybe in the Mediterranean or something. They're going to seize vessel, I think, in next several days to check the Putin, right? Will he actually authorize Russian secret services, Russian security services, and militaries to retaliate in kind, or he is just making statements. And we will see. We will find out, right? We will find out how serious he is with this statement. He also went to say, let me continue with his statements. NATO is infiltrating here. He's talking about Pacifica. A new military political blocks are being created. He means, I guess, AUKUS or something. AUKUS, right? Did they create anything else? Maybe they did. But most likely he talks about AUKUS. New weapon systems are being deployed and planned for deployment here, which poses a threat to our country. The president clarified that Russia poses no threat to Japan and has no claims against it. Very, very strange statement, by the way. Don't we have anything to say about Japan, really? Despite all the hostilities from Japanese side, I have a lot to say. And I find it strange that Russian president don't. But anyways, that's what he says, right? That Russia poses no threat to Japan and has no claims against it. At the same time, Tokyo, for the first time, listed the country, our country, Russia, among its primary threats in its doctrines. And by the way, I mean, that's what is quite frustrating, you know? I mean, that's what age does probably to humans, right? In the first sentence, Putin says that, well, we are good with Japan. We have no, like, claims. We are not escalating. And same time, he goes and says that, well, you see, Japan is designating us as a main threat. So for God's sake, man, if they are designating us as a main threat, don't we have anything to say about it? Really? What are you talking about? But anyways, Moscow was prepared to seek a solution to their Kuril Island issue, but their neighboring state refused to comply with the terms of their 1956 declaration. Well, if I remember correctly, by the way, by that declaration, Soviet Union was willing to give up on 2 islands out of 4 that Japan claims. That was a weaker point for weakest standard for Soviet Union, and Putin actually was considering the same, right? That he was, according to rumors, right there in the internet, that he was willing to give up on the 2 islands in order to sign a peace treaty. We still don't have a peace treaty. Formally, we are still at war with Japan, right? Yeah, man. I mean, why Stalin was very soft towards Japan? Why Putin is this soft towards Japan? I don't know, right? I don't get it. I don't understand it. But yeah, they clearly have some soft spot for Japan, man. What the hell? Right? Just eliminate them freaking all, man. Right? Why we care? Why we care? Just ignore them, man. These are freaking nobodies, right? Nobodies, period. Goodness me, man. I'm never gonna forgive nobody nothing, man. Right? That's my attitude, man. Never forgive, never forget. Period. And Japan is an enemy of Russia and will be an enemy of Russia as long as Japan exists. So anything to eliminate existence of Japan is a good thing, and that's the direction that we should head, right? Period, man. Unless Tokyo will actually start acting normally, but they're not gonna act normal because they're a freaking US colony. So how you expect a US colony to act normal? Any US colony, either Japan or, I don't know, Philippines or whatever. So it's an enemy. Treat it as an enemy, man. Don't be nice. There is no need for that, man. Are Japanese nice to us? They are clearly not, right? For God's sake, man. Putin noted that Moscow is ready to cooperate in Arctic, including on the Northern Sea route with the framework of international law. Russia is strengthening security overall, and in specific regions, we are always ready to seek mutual compromises acceptable for our neighbors and all our partners. Yeah, God knows what he means by partners, man. Probably London, Washington, those ones. Moreover, we are prepared to do so based on the mutual interests. Yeah, he still don't understand, isn't it? Huh? He can't learn, man. That Western ruling class does no business with nobody based on mutual interests. This is not the way Western ruling class operates. They take it all. That's how they become rich and powerful. They just freaking take it all. That's their only rule Western elites know. That's the only policy, only strategy they have for centuries now, right? So why are we ignoring these basics? Putin also stated that Pacific Fleet exercises are necessary to maintain combat readiness and ensure security. The sailors are fully fulfilling their assigned tasks. Yeah, okay. And then he goes and says some more stuff. I think, yeah, deserves some attention, but yet again, do I take his statement seriously? Do I think he means actually what he says? For example, in regards to we will retaliate in kind or respond in kind to the Western ruling class when they will hijack our vessel or vessel that is linked with us. No, I don't think he is serious about it, right? He's just engaged in an election campaign, right? And from now and until freaking 20th of September, he will say a lot more strong stuff, right? Because he knows what society will like, right? He's PR experts or whoever they are. But nevertheless, I mean, maybe I'm wrong this time around. Maybe he actually means what he says. We're gonna find out because Western ruling class is gonna check him literally in a few days' time. And also reminder to your friends that one of his partners, one of the partners of Russian president, President Erdogan of Turkey, decided that he's gonna sell to Ukrainian Nazis and the fascists tens of thousands of shells, cluster shells, right? Also about 70 ATACMS missiles, HIMARS launchers, and a lot of other stuff, right? And their final decision now is on U.S. lawmakers. They have to greenlight this stuff. U.S. Congress already greenlighted this, and the U.S. involvement is inevitable in this case because this is a U.S. weapon, U.S.-made weapons. It belongs to Turkish armed forces, but because the country of origin is U.S., according to basics in a weapons trader, whenever you are reselling the weapons to the third party, you have to have a green light from country of origin, all these weapons. So Ankara is waiting probably for a full green light from the Washington to transfer this a lot of freaking weapons to Ukrainian Nazis, and some of it probably is already being sent, isn't it? Probably vast majority of our community will agree with me if I will say that there is a high probability that significant portion of these weapons probably already been sent. And I spoke about this subject a few days ago, isn't it? But today I am returning to this topic because maybe somewhat surprisingly, but Human Rights Watch, extremely politicized, reputationally destroyed, therefore, entity, which was used and will be used against Russia always, for whatever reasons, right? Maybe to rebuild its reputation a bit, right? Or when to call actually on the US Congress to block the transfer of this cluster munition to Ukraine from Turkish stockpiles. It is interesting. We will see what Washington gonna do. Of course, they're gonna greenlight, man. Are you kidding me? Human Rights Watch is making this statement just to a little bit slightest improve its reputation, totally demolished reputation because they are scumbags, right? And when it comes to Washington, State Department already greenlighted this transfer. Lawmakers, I mean, vast majority of them are freaking Russia haters, right? And pay their on payroll of the globalists and other scumbags. So therefore, of course, they're gonna greenlight it too. So it is interesting, when Russian president says partners, our partners, I wonder what he means, who he means, right? Who is his partners, man? Probably he means Erdogan too, and yeah, that's what Erdogan does. Man. Sends tens of thousands, or agrees to send tens of thousands of cluster munition to kill Russian citizens. And somehow, believe it or not, dear friends, Moscow did not make a not single statement about this matter. At least I have not seen anything in Russian media. How interesting in one hand, and how unbelievable is that, isn't it? That this neighboring country that is heavily relying on Russia economically does this hostile move, and Moscow did not make a single freaking statement about it. Quite something, man. Quite something, And no one is articulating this. I'm monitoring Russian channels, Russian media, and with the exception of television, by the way, I don't watch freaking TV, man. That's too much of a garbage, right? To waste time on. But when it comes to press, when it comes to channels on internet, yeah, I do monitor those. And no one is talking about absence of a statement from Moscow due to these extremely hostile steps that Turkey took in the past several days, whether closure or partial restrictions on the navigation through Dardanelles and Bosphorus. I would interpret that as an act of war, man, if I was president, right? Because that's what it is, man, actually. Implementing maritime blockade on a country is act of war, period. No matter you will make an official declaration of it, or official statement or not. If factually that's what you do, that's the act of war, period. So Moscow did not react on that. Moscow did not react on these reports about this tremendous volume of weapons, munition is being prepared to be sent to Kiev regime, and probably some of it has been already sent. So you tell me what the hell is going on, and is this normal? When Moscow completely ignores this fundamental issue, I don't think it's normal, man. I really don't. Anyways, this morning, dear friends, when I was recording first news update, that YouTube literally killed, right? Maybe they will delay that video also, because clearly algorithm hated their headline, right? But anyways, when I was recording that first update, a few minutes before I started recording, RIA Novosti reported that there was an air raid alert declared in Kiev, and I said there in that update, first one, that probably before I will launch live stream, we will have additional information what the hell is going on, right, with this air raid alert. And well, we have an update, we have additional information. There was explosions, by the way, inside the Kiev and outside of Kiev. In Kiev region, you can see on your screen right now aftermath of those explosions. Fake smoke, clearly something of military character was destroyed. And also we have reports that Russian forces struck a warehouse used by Kiev regime's forces in Brovary, which is a Kiev region. And also you can see on your screen, dear friends, massive smoke is coming out of the place. So something big is burning there. Probably warehouse, probably big warehouse, by the way, packed with munition and stuff. That would be my guess. Of course, more information is needed, but I think that's what happened there. Also, a few minutes before I launched live stream, reports came in that Russian drones being spotted over the Kiev, but this time around, these drones are not targeting nothing. They are just flying around. Probably these are reconnaissance drones. And rumors start circulating on the internet that maybe later on today or tomorrow or during the nighttime, there will be another long-range missile strike on the military and logistical infrastructure of the Kiev regime inside the Kiev itself. Well, might be the case. I've seen videos, by the way, drones actually flying around there are not targeting nothing, right? Clearly reconnaissance drones. So we will find out in next 12 hours, I guess, 12 to 24 hours. what's going on with that story. And I want to share with you also this interesting report that Kiev regime is no longer sharing in its daily updates information about Russian missiles, how many of those missiles were launched, how many was intercepted, and you guessed why is that? Of course, because at least during the last several Russian long-range missile strikes on military and logistical infrastructure in Kiev, this Western-backed Nazi and the terrorist regime was unable to intercept even a single Russian missile, and they just don't want to talk about it. So they prefer this way to shut down the topic, not to say nothing at all about missiles. Okay, let's see how long they will keep quiet. Either way, if there is a Russian long-range missile strikes, Russian defense ministry will provide us information, and locals in Kiev will provide us with a lot of videos. And we will know anyways. Okay, that's been said, of course, unfortunately, these dozens of NATO member states still are directly engaged in this war against Russian people, producing a lot of weapons for Ukrainian Nazis and the terrorists, providing them with a lot of weapons, including long-range strike means, drones, for example, and past night alone, Russian armed forces intercepted 502 of those drones that were launched by NATO member states while hiding behind the Kiev regime to strike deep into Russian territory. Drones were intercepted over the Belgorod, Bryansk, Lugansk, Lipetsk, Oryol regions, Krasnodar Krai, Republic of Crimea, and over the waters of the Black Sea. 502 drones were intercepted, by the way. Massive attack, isn't it? Massive attack. Unfortunately, whenever there is this massive attacks, number of drones are managing to bypass, of course, air defense forces, and there are casualties as a result of it. For example, we have this report that a civilian was killed as a result of enemy drone strike in Crimea. Also, 2 civilians were killed also in southern Russia. In Novorossiysk, for example, 8-year-old child was killed as a result of a massive attack on this city during the nighttime, and another civilian was killed in the village of Volna in Kuban region. This is still preliminary information. I'm afraid the actual casualty numbers are significantly higher than it was reported by this moment when I'm online with this live stream. Also, I mentioned there was a massive attack on southern Russia in many directions, and according to a number of sources, 21 residential buildings, for example, and 4 enterprises were struck in the Krasnodar region alone. Just imagine, 21 residential buildings. I saw this report on Kirill Fedorov, Vojna Historia Оружия channel, big Russian, pro-Russian channel, by the way, and 21 residential buildings. You can see some of those buildings on your screen right now. You can see level of damage. I can make it bigger and that you will see that. 21 residential buildings like these ones, probably taller, was damaged, targeted, right, struck during the nighttime as a result of these long-range attacks. So I'm afraid, of course, casualty numbers will be much higher than it is reported as of now. And don't tell me this is some sort of a mistake on the part of Kiev regime's drone operator or something, or just one-off instance when one drone went off the course due to some technical malfunction. No, this is clearly intentional strike on residential areas as a part of terror campaign that British ruling class and British secret services are leading, planning, organizing, implementing, while using the Ukrainian process. This is clearly intentional terror campaign. And one day, I really hope British ruling class, British intelligence, British militaries will pay heavy price for the crimes that they committed against Russian people. All of them, by the way, everybody, of course, everybody in the collective West who has anything to do with these crimes against Russian people, especially British ruling class, British militaries, British intelligence. They have to be eliminated, man, if you ask me. Totally eliminated, exterminated. That's what I would prefer to see. No mercy towards enemies, man. There can be no mercy when they are doing this stuff. There just can be no mercy, period. Also, reports are, and Reuters, for example, also reporting that Russia's Novorossiysk grain terminal holds operations after drone attacks orchestrated by Western ruling class and the Ukrainian proxies. Terminal's owner confirmed that their facility was damaged as a result of attacks. The porter, this terminal, port of Novorossiysk, basically, handles estimated 20 to 30% of Russian grain exports, which is quite low, isn't it? You know, Russia is a breadbasket for this world. It's not just grain that is exported from Russia, but I mean, a lot of stuff, right? Russia feeds this planet together with a few other countries. So a lot of food is being exported from Russia, and of course, if situation will continue to deteriorate, and if Russia would not be able to export this much of a volume of its exports, like food exports, anything around 20 or 30%, man, that's gonna be totally shocking, isn't it? That will devastate this world, right? That will devastate this world. Absent on the world market of 20 or 30% of Russian either grain or the food that is exported will cause a literal famine, by the way, in many countries, in many regions, actually, not just countries, but entire regions of this planet. And you know what happens whenever there is a food shortages: instability, civil wars, mass migration. And you guess where those people gonna go, man? In Europe, right? And you guess who they gonna hate for all their harm and all their uh, damages that they have faced or had to overcome. Also, Western world, right? Because they know, everybody knows, these attacks on Russian territory are orchestrated by NATO countries, including on infrastructure that is involved in the food exports. Everybody knows that. So if Russia is unable to export certain volumes of food, it's not because Russia does not has anything to export, but because Western ruling class, British ruling class, to be more precise, which leads this terror campaign, together with their American partners, destroying the infrastructure. So those people, man, from those regions that will experience instability, civil wars, mass migrations, those people will come to Western world, in UK also, and they will have a hate of UK and British people in their hearts. And you guess what they're gonna do there? So British people, French people, German people, man, they should wake up, man, because this horror campaign, this terror campaign that their countries are engaged in cannot go unnoticed, right? Cannot go without consequences. And these ordinary people that are complaining now that there is a mass invasion of the migrants and stuff, those people have to wake up and realize that this mass invasion of migrants, or whatever they're going to call it, would never happen if their countries were operating properly, acting decently, right? And if they think social fabric is stretched beyond limit all over the Western world now, guess what's going to happen tomorrow, day after tomorrow, in a year from now, or 5 years from now? It's going to get much worse, right? Just saying. And no one should complain, man, then, right? When they will face more consequences of their criminal actions of their government and inaction of these Western societies, because they are inactive, right? Did you hear ever about mass demonstrations in London or in Liverpool, let's say, or the Manchester, by the way, or Glasgow, Did you hear any reports about mass demonstrations with demands from London, which is a major force among globalists club, to stop this terror campaign against Russian people and Russia and get out of this war that they, globalists, are waging against Russia? No, there was not a single instance of that. Yes, there are some people, few actually, that are protesting this, right? That understand perfectly well. There will be consequences for these insane policies of the London. But unfortunately, few people does not make the weather, as we say, right? Несколько человек не делают погоду. Those few people, they are brave, but they don't really impact much. Majority is in sleep. Same goes for France. Same goes for Germany and Italy, and you just, you name it. It's all the same all over the West, correct? People, majority, don't want to do anything, right? Don't want to analyze how devastating the consequence is going to be for the criminal actions of their governments. Moreover, they are actually, in many cases, in support of these criminal actions, right, of their government. And then they are whining when consequences come around. How interesting, man. How interesting. So I think this is a devastating news, man. If correct, if true, if Reuters is not lying, of course, for a global stability, this is a devastating news, because Russia is a breadbasket of this world. And if we are unable to export 20 to 30% of food, yeah, that will have a massive impact, man. Massive impact. I think we will manage to deal with the situation, and one way or another, right, we will deliver food to regions in need. But you never know, man. You just never know. Also, I want to share with you this update, some episodes from Defense Ministry's update, Russian Defense Ministries. So past 24 hours, 502 drones were intercepted, but in past 24 hours, over 1,000 drones were intercepted by Russian air defense forces. Also 5 HIMARS missiles. And whenever HIMARS are used, it's a U.S. militaries, isn't it? U.S. intelligence, U.S. militaries directly, literally directly, by the way. Kiev regime cannot use HIMARS if Pentagon is not involved directly. That's how this weapon system works, by the way. You have to have data from the Pentagon, right? And U.S. militaries have to assist you. Otherwise, you would not launch not a single freaking missile from this launch. That's how it works. Also, same is the case with the 777, by the way, artillery system. Many people don't know, but whenever you open fire with this artillery system, you have to program every freaking shell, right? That's the only way this artillery system is becoming more or less accurate. And the only way you can program every single shell is, if you are connected with the U.S. Intelligence, right? Without it, 777 is a garbage, total garbage. But with the U.S. direct assistance, it is becoming very precise weapon system. Also, in past 24 hours, Kiev regime lost more than 1,300 military personnel, by the way. 8 unmanned all along the front line, killed and wounded. And there also, in past 24 hours, 8 unmanned boats were destroyed in the Black Sea by Russian troops. So when it comes to these unmanned drones, guess who provides these unmanned drones to be used against Russia? Also UK. UK is leading the charge in this terror campaign, man. I mean, British ruling class, British intelligence, British militaries. US is assisting big time, US intelligence services especially. But leading force is in this terror campaign is UK, London. Believe it or not, man. This freaking paper tiger is in charge of this terror campaign, because as of now, they were able to kill Russian citizens and destroy Russian infrastructure with total impunity, and they start believing in themselves, right? These freaking rabid chihuahuas, man. It's crazy. British ruling class is nothing more than a rabid freaking chihuahua. I know this. British people know this, man. Right? They know that they are paper tiger. Everybody knows this. But if you allow paper tiger to launch long-range attacks against you and conduct terrorist acts on your territory with total freaking impunity, to kill your people, destroy your infrastructure with total impunity, that freaking paper tiger will actually start believing that it's an actual tiger. That's what happens. And I think that's exactly this mindset trap in which British ruling class find itself now. They probably actually believe that they are this strong and they're all powerful, while they only are freaking rabid chihuahuas, man. Right? Just one slap, that's it, man. And there is no more freaking UK, literally. Also interesting news that is coming from Associated Press, that only 5 to 9% of drones and missiles that are used for long-range attacks on the Russian Federation are managing to bypass Russian air defenses. And this report, if correct, by the way, yet again, this information is coming from Associated Press, so we should take it with a pinch of salt. But of course, Associated Press would not will not be conservative in this estimate, right? Would not be conservative. If anything, they will actually try to paint the picture that more drones are bypassing air defenses of Russia than actually do. But let's say it's a 5%, right? 9% could be exaggeration. I think it is exaggeration, but 5% maybe around the real number, right? And this is devastating, man. Still, there is no air defense force in this world that can secure sky 100% at the time and intercept 100% of incoming aerial targets. This is just technically impossible, even for best air defense forces in the world, which is Russian air defense forces, right? And unfortunately, every now and then some drones are managing to bypass air defenses. And Associated Press is highlighting, basically, pointing out that, Western ruling class, because of this low number of drones and missiles that are managing to bypass air defenses of Russia, are pretty much focused on a further increase of mass productions of this long-range attack means, right? And that's why we are seeing constant rise on these long-range attacks, launches of their drones mainly, but sometimes missiles too. And this was expected. I was talking about inevitability of this process. Many others were saying that, yeah, it's only a matter of time before NATO countries will ramp up mass production, all these relatively cheap long-range strike means, and then they will try to overwhelm Russian air defense forces. And that's exactly the trajectory that they are moving. Right? Still, Russian air defenses are holding quite well, isn't it? I mean, intercepting 95% of incoming targets, that's quite a good result, actually. I mean, US air defenses could not even dream about these numbers, man. They could not even dream about it. That's how far more advanced Russian air defenses are, actually, compared to the US. But nevertheless, because of this tremendous number of drones and sometimes missiles that are launched by Russian enemies, these NATO member states, basically, that are hiding behind a back of Kiev regime, for plausible than I will say, eventually there are more weapons that are actually reaching the targets, right? From 1,000 drones, and Russian Defense Ministry stated that in past 24 hours alone, more than 1,000 drones were intercepted. So 5% of 1,000 is 50 drones, right? And that means 50 drones did manage to deliver 100, 200 kilograms of explosive towards some civilian area, residential area, residential buildings were struck, civilian infrastructure was struck. That's why every day we have tragedies, Pablo. That's why every day we have tragedies. That unfortunately, this little number of enemy long range means still managing to bypass our defenses, right? And you can imagine what West Africa is going to do. They're going to double down. As long as they are staying, undeterred by Russia, they will double down. They will try to ramp up production of drones, or furthermore, right? So that at some point they'll be able to launch 2,000 drones, maybe 3,000 drones every 24 hours, right? If they will have enough money, but after all, eventually someone have to pay for it, isn't it? And I mean, I know Europe is still rich, but I don't think Europe is that rich, really. Each drone, after all, costs 20, 30,000 anyways, right? So do the calculation, do the math, my friends. It's tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars in some cases that are used in a single day for these long-range attacks on Russia. So I don't know what is going to be first. Europe or NATO countries gonna run out of money first, or Russia will restore deterrent first. I don't know. But until we will have a clear picture on that, unfortunately, these long-range attacks will only increase. And as I said, vast majority of these drones and missiles that are used against Russia are Western made, isn't it? Mostly in Europe, but the US is actively engaged. First and foremost, US is engaged with their intelligence, which makes US guilty of death of thousands of Russian citizens, by the way. And one day US will pay for that. There will be no mercy, of course, right? And this clown that they have in a position of president in US, right? This rabbit freaking clown, Donald Trump, who does makes insane statements literally on a daily basis, like several times a day. For whatever reason, decided that he wants to act clownish again, and he went to say that US sells weapons to EU countries that pay a lot of dollars and choose for themselves who to give them to. This includes the possibility of them being transferred to Kiev. I'm not giving it to Ukraine, I'm giving it to European Union. They have the money and they pay a lot of dollars. We sell munition, we sell fighter jets, we sell everything to the European Union, and they do whatever they want with it, including give it to Ukraine. And you know what? This scumbag is, of course, lying, by the way, that US has nothing to do with their deliveries of these weapons on a Q-controlled territory, because, as I already mentioned, as it is the case with the Turkish-owned American weapons that Ankara wants and agreed to transfer to Ukrainian Nazis, and they are waiting now permission from US, green light, to transfer these weapons to third parties. It's the same rule for Europeans, by the way. European countries cannot sell a single freaking bullet or cannot transfer single freaking US-made bullet to Ukraine unless they have a green light from Washington. That's how it works, man. That's how it was always. No European country, no NATO, no one can transfer US-made weapons to third party without green light from Washington. And the moment you give a green light to deliver weapons to the regime, you are complicit, period. So what Trump is talking about, dear friends, can you tell me? You can't, because no one can, right? Only psychiatrists might try to understand what the hell is going on in this, in brains of this idiot, if he even has any, right? Total freaking scumbag, man. And when it comes to hostility of US, well, I already mentioned yesterday, isn't it, that they decided that it's going to be a good idea to sell as a scrap 2 Russian oil tankers that they hijacked earlier. And yeah, that's what they did. They sell Russian linked, and they were Russian flagged actually also vessels. They sell it for scrap, man. And I remind you, dear friends, that I mean, Russian president stated that uh, if uh, if Russia-linked vessels or Russian vessels are going to be harassed or something going to happen to them, Russia will retaliate in kind. And I really hope, man, Putin means what he says. I really hope so. And we're going to find out soon. We're going to find out soon if he means what he says, because mark my word, dear friends, today is what? Wednesday? Let me check, man. Today is Wednesday, isn't it? So it is. So I think before end of this week, global is gonna check Putin on his words. They're gonna hijack. They're gonna harass or hijack, probably hijack, yet another Russian link vessel. We will see how Moscow will react to it. That's what I think. Meanwhile, China has threatened US, by the way, with retaliatory measures for sanctions against Russia. So Beijing, not for sanctions against Russia, but for potential tariffs or restrictions on China due to this yet another anti-Russian sanctions deal that is being worked out now in US. So Beijing intends to protect its interests if United States imposes tariffs on Russian energy supplies, stated Liu Chang, the official representative of Chinese embassy in Washington. According to him, the state will take steps to protect itself if the American side adopts a bill on fines for the purchasing fuel from Russia. China firmly opposes unilateral sanctions that have no basis in international law and have not been approved by UN Security Council, and will take necessary measures to protect their legitimate rights and the interests of Chinese enterprises and their citizens. Diplomat emphasized, and you know what? They're going to act on the statements because they already have. They only say few words, man. That's specifics with China, right? Chinese leadership only says few words here and there. They are never. They don't make strong statements, man. They're always like on the chill, right? They're chilling. You might get feeling the Chinese always are chilling, right? But every now and then they make some statements while chilling, and then they act on it. And consequences for the countries that came under these Chinese actions are totally devastating, including for US, by the way. After all, it was US that got humiliated on the world stage when Lockheed Martin was unable to deliver F-35s, fully prepared F-35s to Pentagon. Right? They deliver F-35s that had no freaking radars on board. And why would anybody need their F-35 anyways? But if you're purchasing it, then what is the point in that freaking plane that is already garbage to have it without a radar? You know? So if China can do this to US, you can imagine what they can do to others if they want to, man. And yet again, they don't make no strong statements, man. They're always like, those guys, man. Just make no noise, but once they snap, that's it, man. The consequences are felt all over the place. It works. So it is what it is. Washington should listen, man, what Chinese are saying, because next time around they might lose ability to build the freaking not just radars for their planes, but anything. Um, there is some good news though for US. Also, not from China, but well, Russian president decided that he had to demonstrate goodwill gesture for US leadership or towards US leadership once again, and he agreed US Marine detained in Russia for crimes to be released and sent to America. As of now, probably he is already in America. So, US citizen Robert Gilman, convicted in Russia, is heading to the United States. President Donald Trump himself stated about it. Following my discussions with Vladimir Putin, Russia agreed to release him solely for humanitarian reasons. We appreciate this decision and the fact that Russia demanded nothing in return. There was no exchange. He wrote on their social network through social, and well, I guess by now this person is in US already. Trump mentioned some humanitarian aspect there, and well, if this person is sick or dying or something like that, then it makes sense, obviously, to free him so that he will spend whatever time he has left with his loved ones, friends, and so on. So many people didn't like the reporter when they see him in Russian segment of internet, especially because there was no exchange. Russia just freed that guy. But yet again, when it comes to some humanitarian aspects, there is we have to be good humans, man. That's all it is, right? We have to be on the right side of history. We are on the right side of history, and no matter everything, man, wars, challenges, we have to maintain soul. We have to maintain soul. So therefore, I personally support this decision of Russian president. Yet again, I mean, looks like this decision was made on humanitarian basis, and this is my speculation that maybe this person is facing some serious health issues, and in that case, of course, it makes all the sense to let him go and spend the rest of his life with his family and friends. So I'm not gonna criticize, man, Russian president or his decision for in this particular case because I mean he is correct. I'm not gonna criticize anybody, by the way, for having a heart, right? It is what it is. So okay, dear friends, that's being said. Let me address little topic, which is a little maybe for everybody out there on internet except me, because topic is about survival of this project that I'm working on for 4 years now, man. Time is flying. And well, as I said, dear friends, this project only exists thanks to support of members of our community through Patreon subscription, through donations, or through super chats on Rumble, right? And let me thank all those people first and foremost for supporting my work and allowing me to stay in this field of news and political commentary. And also let me address other members of community that maybe never supported and never even considered to support. Well, if you like my work, if you appreciate my programs, even if you disagree on many of my points, but agree on some or disagree with everything, but still watch and listen, please consider to join supporters, because this project is since its creation, by the way, since my first program, this project is in a survival mode, and I'm a bit tired of it, man. Honestly, right? We need our community on Patreon to double. And best support you can provide is to subscribe to my Patreon page. It starts from $5 a month, and you can choose your level of support. So if you can, please consider to join our Patreon community. Link is under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. Or you can join our community on Boosty. It's also a monthly subscription there. That will be better way to support, right? On top of that, there is of course PayPal platform that can be used to support to donate to this project. And as I said during the live streams, there is a super chat. There is a super chatter feature on Rumble. There is a super chat feature on Rumble that you can use to highlight any topic you want and also donate simultaneously to the channel. And there is also a premium subscription gift card, by the way, feature on Rumble. And you can use a premium subscription gift card on Rumble to support. And right now I dropped a link to my Rumble channel, by the way, in YouTube chat. You have already seen it. So if you have an account on Rumble, join our community there, because you never know, man. YouTube might shut down my channel any day, man. They killed. I can't believe, man, that they just literally killed their first news update, man. 300-400 views in 5 hours, man. That means literally like maybe 0.001% of community only see the video, either in recommendations or receive the notification. Now, that's been said, dear friends. Of course, many thanks to everybody who ever supported and continues to support my work and this project. I hope I am doing good enough work, by the way, and producing original enough programs. And hopefully, our community of supporters will rise. That's been said, dear friends. That's been said. Let's continue with some other news. And well, Iran has communicated to the U.S. the conditions for opening the Strait of Hormuz. RIA Novosti reports citing Iranian media outlets. So Iran, through intermediaries, conveyed to the United States the terms for opening the Strait of Hormuz, according to Iran's Security Council Secretary Moshen Rezai. America must end the war, return frozen assets to Iran, and their war master and throughout the region, including Lebanon and Gaza. These and other conditions were conveyed to them, to U.S., through intermediaries. Press TV, Iranian media, Press TV quotes him as saying, and well, even though there is no reaction from Washington yet on these statements from Tehran, maybe we should not even expect any reaction from Washington, because Trump, not the first time and not the last time, I guess, stated the day before yesterday, that was, I think, that U.S. is the only one with the control over the Strait of Hormuz. So if Trump actually believes that they are in control of Strait, if Trump's administration believes that nonsense, if and most importantly, if American ruling class believes that, then of course they're not going to have any reaction on Iranian proposal, on Iranian initiatives, and they're not going to be able to act adequately, because all the foundations that they are standing on is fake, based on fakery. That is it. But we know, man, we know in regards to Middle East, of course, everything is just a game that is being played by Western ruling class. They are just buying time. They're just buying time to launch next phase of the war. First phase was lost by Western ruling class and its proxies, Israel, US, right? During the next phase of the war, Western ruling class and their Zionist allies will deploy additional parties to this war, and they might even go nuclear. That's the fear that I have, that they're gonna freaking go nuclear. By the way, because even though they are, I mean, I have doubts about intellectual capabilities of Western ruling class, but I don't think they are total freaking imbeciles. At least all of them, right? And they should understand that with conventional warfare, they're not gonna be able to um, achieve goals that they have in regards to this Middle Eastern chapter of their global strategy, which is to engulf in a fire of ethnic and sectarian lines, not just Iran, but the entire Middle East. With conventional warfare, they're not going to be able to do this, succeed in that. So therefore, they might and probably will go for a nuclear strikes during that next phase of the war. That's going to start most likely early winter. Meanwhile, when it comes to topic of Strait of Hormuz, who controls what, and so on, well, yesterday I mentioned this news, dear friends, that Gulf countries, according to Wall Street Journal, are ready to accept Iran's control over the Strait of Hormuz. They prefer this option to possible alternative, which they see as to be war. They don't want war, obviously, right? And they are right on that. They should not want war. They should distance themselves from Western ruling class, this evil force that is threatening all of humanity. Also, well, I shared this information yesterday that throughout the confrontation, Iran managed to strike successfully more than 2,000 times US military assets throughout the region, throughout the 8 countries in the region, by the way. Right? Iran was very successful, absolutely, very, very effective, very successful in its defensive operations, for sure. Also, we have reports that Indonesia rules out US military bases on its soil. Defense Minister of Indonesia, Shafri Shamsuddin, emphasized that the cooperation with Washington is limited to military training and must respect Indonesia's sovereignty, and this is definitely the position that Jakarta should maintain no faking US bases and no faking US influence, because if Jakarta fails on that, they're gonna become a bigger version, much bigger version of the Philippines, and it would not end well, either for political leadership of Indonesia, neither for the people of Indonesia. Right? They don't want to be bigger version of the Philippines, for sure. So they should stay away, man, from US as much as they possibly can. That will be best possible decision on their behalf, right? Also, I want to share with you this great news. I will say that allegedly, majority of Scots, by the way, majority of Scottish people are for independence, and that's good, man. Go for it, guys. So, if a referendum on Scottish independence were held tomorrow, 52% of Scots would vote to leave the United Kingdom and 48% would vote to remain, according to a new poll by the Find Out Now organization, commissioned by the National. British Prime Minister Andy Burnham, although, said no, there are going to be no referendums on Scottish independence anytime soon. And the same answer had every previous Prime Minister of UK since 2014, when Scottish people actually had their chance to say yes, man. And they failed. They failed to gain independence, man. It's I don't know, it's beyond my understanding, man. They are occupied by English, right? Scottish people are occupied by English. English talk their language. English try to decimate their culture, their traditions, their everything. English were treating Scots like animals, right? I mean, everybody knows that. As Swedes were treating like Finnish people like animals, man. Russia freed Finns, right? Russia saved Finns, actually. Otherwise, Swedes will probably by now exterminate them all. So Scots are, occupied people, and they should be independent. They should be free, of course, right? I support independence of Scotland, independence of Welsh. Let the England be again Englander, independent, right? You know what? And of course, Northern Ireland should be part of Ireland, 100%. By the way, I mean there can be no doubts about it. I don't give a damn about any other take there. It's occupied territory, so should be free, right? Although, of course, hopefully people will not fight among each other based on religious lines, right? Because Catholics and Protestants were freaking killing each other there, man, which is insane. I mean, I can't understand this. If confrontation was on line of politics and stuff like that, yeah, I mean, okay, that's what happens. But they were killing each other based on freaking religion, man. That was something extraordinary. They still hate each other. I mean, let's be real about it. Irish people and the Brits, they still hate each other. Irish and English, actually. I don't think Irish people hate Scots necessarily. But yes, 52% is for independence. Prime Minister says no, there are going to be no referendums. And therefore, I think Scottish people should go ahead and free themselves from London on their own. They don't have to take no permission from London to do anything, right? They don't need London's permission. Why they have to even ask? Isn't it? They should organize elections. If majority says yes, we're gonna go independent, that is that, man. Give London 24 hours to withdraw, and that's it. I hope this will happen, man, because London is a historical enemy of Russia. British ruling class is a historical enemy of Russia, and whatever weakens this evil empire or remnants of this evil empire is good, man. So of course, I support Scottish independence. I don't give a damn about they're gonna be independent or not. In reality, I'm not gonna mess around now, right? That I'm a big supporter of Scottish people. I don't give a damn, man, right? I have nothing against Scottish people, but I'm not gonna lose sleep if they are independent or not over that topic, right? Why would I care? It's their life. If they want to be ruled by London, yeah, okay. If they want to be independent, yeah, okay. Good luck with that. I have no beef with them, so that is that. But my point is that whatever weakens London is good, man, because London is an evil force. Period. So come on, Scotland, go full independent, man. Don't ask permission, London, for anything. I don't think it's gonna happen, though. I really don't. But would be interesting. Also, Georgian Prime Minister, meanwhile, has refused to restore diplomatic relations with Russia. Believe it or not, but I mean, some people might be surprised, but Tbilisi and Moscow still don't have diplomatic ties after 2008 developments. So Georgia has no plans to return to full diplomatic relations with Russia as long as Moscow continues to recognize the independence of Abkhazia and South Ossetia. Georgian Prime Minister Irakli Kubahidze stated, according to the head of their government there in Georgia, Tbilisi's position is directly linked to their status of these two republics until Russia's so-called recognition. You freaking idiot! Shut the fuck up, Irakli Kubahidze, and be a little more serious, idiot, man. So-called, it's not so-called, it's actual recognition and nothing you can do about it. Fool, man. But what you expect, man? This beach is also raised by through Soros funds, right? They're all these are all the same, man. These motherfucking animals, though. Right? Choose your freaking language, animal. Kobachidze. Shani debili deda shet haram soplio, bleh. So, according to head of government there, I don't give a damn. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. Georgia is led by morons, right? These morons are just a bit better than previous ones because these ones at least didn't start the war. That's only positive about this fix, man. That's only they didn't start the war, right? And that is it. And if one day Georgia will have actual decent human beings in charge, you know what they're gonna do? They're gonna talk to Georgian people and explain to them that their way forward in regards to Abkhazia and South Ossetia is to come up with initiative before them to create confederation, to propose basically, get united under their umbrella of confederation and start talks about that. And one day they will reach serious negotiations and eventually maybe confederation will be built. That's the only way forward, confederation, right? But, and I think Moscow would not be against it. I think Moscow would not be against it, absolutely, right? Might even assist in quite a few ways. And once confederation is created, then Russia don't have to take its recognition of Abkhazia and South Ossetia anywhere. Russia will just recognize this new state entity, confederation of these three, Georgia, South Ossetia, and Abkhazia, and that is that. Situation between Tbilisi and Moscow is resolved, right? Diplomatic relationships could be restored. Economical ties might improve further. Economically, there is cooperation, by the way, right? There is another plus for this current government in Georgia, current ruling party, which is that, first, positive about them, they didn't start the war. Neither civil war, neither war with Russia. And second positive about them is that even though there is no diplomatic relationships between Moscow and Tbilisi, there is quite a good level of economical cooperation, and Georgia is benefiting tremendously. Georgian economy is benefiting tremendously with this improved economical cooperation with Russia. So, I will give them a credit when it's deserved, right? But still, they are freaking idiots, man. Look at the language that this bitch is using. Prime Minister of Georgia. He's saying so-called recognition by Russia of independence of South Ossetia, Abkhazia. It's not freaking so-called. It's serious, man. It's very serious. And you have to be freaking serious. You're being called prime minister. You have to be serious when you are talking about serious stuff. Bleh. Sorry, dear friends, but, I wonder if Georgia will ever have a decent or actually intellectual and brave politicians in charge, man. I wonder if Georgia will ever have a brave, decent, intelligent politicians in charge that would not afraid to talk to society about crucial topics, even if these topics not going to be easy to explain, and also to take necessary steps that might not be also politically easy, but necessary for the future of the people and the country. Since the independence, Georgia never had that kind of leaders, never. And I know what am I talking about, right? I know a thing or two about Georgia. So there is a way, man, confederation. That's the only way forward, right? Anything else is just waste of time. And their time is running out because at some point, it might become totally impossible, right, to persuade people that live in Abkhazia and South Ossetia to join Georgia, right, in the confederation. So Tbilisi have to hurry with this initiative, but as of now, looks like there are nobody there with working brains, right, in Georgian political leadership that will actually do what is good for people in the country to resolve this decades-old tragedy of a civil and the consequences of the civil war in between Tbilisi, Trinwali, and Sukhumi, right? Yeah, maybe one day, man. Maybe one day the Georgia will have some better leaders. Who knows, right? But time is running out. That's also true. TASS news agency, meanwhile, is reporting that Rosatom completed construction of a Skiff mega science facility. That's a good stuff, isn't it? I want to share some positive information about scientific progress. And so Rosatom has completed the construction of the Skiff mega science facility in the Novosibirsk region. This was announced by the Rosatom basically. Rosatom has completed the construction of the Siberian ring photon source Skiff shared use center, Russia's first generation 4+ synchrotron radiation source with an energy of 3 gigaelectron watts. The facility was also designed by nuclear industry specialists. The statement reads, it is noted that general contractor for the construction of the project was Titan II Holding company that is a part of Rosatom, and they're basically okay. I will not go into these technical specifics, but what I read about this station is that it's something somewhat similar and also different from a Big Hadron Collider that is in Switzerland, right, under the ground. This center will also work on a quantum level, right? On a quantum level to find out, to find the answers on the questions what is the matter, right? And what we know about matter and what we don't. So, and I remind you, friends, that I believe, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but Soviet Union was first. Soviet Union was first to develop a collider, isn't it? And conduct experiments with the collider when photons being struck with each other under tremendous speed, and that's the way how we find out existence of many things, right? Last big breakthrough in this regard was actually in CERN in Switzerland when they find the Higgs boson, right? But yeah, hopefully this center in Russia will also achieve some massive breakthroughs, right? That will benefit Russian Federation and also all of humanity. That's what science should do, man. Benefit all of humanity. And also, dear friends, I will end new segment on this report that Moscow's residents today will be able to see solar eclipse, right? Let me give you a timing if there is any data about it. So Moscowites will be able to see solar eclipse on Wednesday if the sky clears by evening. Well, right now it's a freaking rainy day all day long, by the way, and it's a cloudy day, so I don't know about seeing solar eclipse. Also, they should not expect the same clear weather as earlier in the week. Yeah, okay, Tatiana Poznyakova, chief specialist at the Moscow Meteorological Bureau, told the RIA Novosti. Earlier, the Moscow Planetarium announced that a solar eclipse would be visible in the capital On Wednesday, eclipse greatest phase is expected at 8:08, by the way, 8 hour and 8 minutes in the evening, 8:08 p.m. So okay, let's see if clear is the sky is clear. Then you know we will try to see that eclipse. I have seen it, by the way. I mean, like I don't know, 20 years ago in Georgia. I mean, okay, right. I never understood why this is a big deal, sort of. Only like something truly interesting is that only during the eclipse you can actually see outer layer of sun, and that's maybe only thing that is actually interesting about it. Other than that, and also, I mean, another thing one might argue is interesting that well, location of the moon, our moon, Luna, by the way, and its size is exactly the perfect to be able to eclipse the sun. Little bigger, little smaller, little further away or closer, and it would not be able to eclipse the sun. This perfectly, right? And you know, man, there is so many people out there on internet that love all sorts of crazy theories that are using exactly that example to claim that the moon is artificial creation and it's like alien station, and you know there's so many crazy freaking ideas out there, man. Artificial creation, and it is artificial creation in a sense that when a tear, it was a tear, right? A tail planet, by the way, Mars-sized planet that hit our planet, like I don't know, 3-4 billion years ago. A lot of time has passed since then, and significant chunk of our planet melted part, of course, together with that tail, remnants of the tail planet went up in the atmosphere. Eventually, they cooled down. Gravity did its thing. They become the moon gradually become a circle, and yeah, that's how we have a moon now. It was much closer actually on early stages to our planet, and throughout the billions of years, it's getting further and further away, and eventually Earth will lose its gravitational grip on the moon, right? Or maybe in like I don't know, 4 billion years from now, 5 billion. But I think our sun will go red giant, transform into red giant phase before that. I think, right? And so our sun will devour both moon and Earth before these two will get separated. But anyways, today, if you are in Moscow, by the way, I mean, I know 1 or 2% of people are watching my programs from Russia. So in case you are in Moscow, 8 p.m. and 8 minutes, look at the direction of sun. You should be able to see eclipse, full eclipse, if weather is good. Okay, that's about it, man. That's about it for this news segment. I hope it was interesting. I hope it was interesting and informative. And in that case, please click that like button and leave some commentary. And I can see Anna was dropping screenshots. Anna has day off today, and she's dropping screenshots. So I will check now. It's super chats from Waywarder, and also one super chat from Ometrius. And by the way, let's go for a little community chat. What you say, dear friends? I will react on these super chats, and simultaneously I will also check Boosty and Patreon. Like I don't know, in case some of you decided that you're gonna join supporters on Patreon. No update on Patreon, and also nothing on Boosty. Well, In case you want to join our Patreon or Boosty community, links are under this video in the description box. And well, let's go for super chats now. Let's go for super chats. And this is first one, super chats from Wayward. Thank you very much, Wayward, for your super chats and donations with the super chats on the Rumble. Wayward is commenting, call me skeptical. I don't believe Putin. The West has been hijacking Russian vessels for years now. Why has not he protected those vessels already? You can start by putting armed crews with their main parts. Well, as I mentioned there also, I mean, I'm a bit skeptical that he actually means what he says. I think he is being engaged in an election campaign now, and he knows what kind of statements will have a chance to gain attraction in a society, right? Which kind of statements might give him additional political points or to his party, right? That he will then try to convert into support for his party, United Russia Party. And that's why he's talking about it. Otherwise, I mean, as you said there, Wayward, why he did not do much about this protecting Russian commercial navigation until now? I mean, why? So you see, that's why I'm skeptical too. Is there a chance that this time around he actually means it? Yes, there is such chance, I guess, right? Theoretically speaking, we cannot exclude that such possibility, but do I believe that he will? No, I don't. Unfortunately, yet again, but I have heard too many strong statements from Russian officials already, man. And I've had enough of it, right? So, and probably many other people or out there in the world are on the same page on that. But I do support it. Statement itself in the prince, what it represents. Of course, we should retaliate. Of course, we should retaliate. Of course, we should deter Western ruling class, restore deterrent. 100%. I'm a big supporter of restoring deterrent with the collective West. But do I believe that Putin will actually greenlight Russian secret service and militaries to do it? No. Also, Wayward is commenting, naturally, studies is a good podcast. Studies is a good podcast. This Russian political philosopher, Pavel Shelin, was talking about the psychology of Putin and other Western politicians. Very interesting interview. Neutrality studies. Okay. I understand now. Neutrality studies is a good podcast. Neutrality studies is being recommended by many. Many people have said the good words about it. So I join recommendations for sure. So, dear friends, just do some search on YouTube, neutrality studies, and you will find their channel that Wayward is talking about. Thank you for this super chats, Wayward, but there is more. There is more super chats. Let me highlight those two. Without actions from Putin and his government, their attacks on food supplies will not stop. What are their odds of him taking actions? Not much. Yet again, I'm on the same page, Wayward, on this matter. I mean, some actions will be taken. Of course, he cannot tell Russian militaries to do nothing. So Russian militaries obviously will do whatever they can in a current framework of special military operation under the current conditions to protect Russian people, Russian Federation. But yet again, unless we restore the deterrent with the collective West, these attacks not gonna stop, because these attacks are orchestrated by the Western ruling class and weapons are produced by Western ruling class or in the Western countries. No matter how successful we are in terms of battlefield success and in terms of long-range strikes on military and logistical infrastructure of the Kiev regime, this alone cannot stop these long-range attacks on the Russian civilians and Russian infrastructure, including infrastructure that is vital for food exports, because those strikes solely rely on Western intelligence and Western-produced weapons. That's how it is. Also, we were commenting one way to put pressure on the U.S. Western supply Iran with their missiles, weapons. They need to weaponize those U.S. bases in the Middle East. Give them the option: do you still want to escalate with Russia? Well, I think on this topic, I think Iran has enough missiles on its own and very capable missiles. I don't think they need missiles from Russia necessarily. But what they would be happy to receive is, of course, weapons that will help them to deal with their possible ground invasion, or I will say inevitable ground invasion. At this point, I think Iran would prefer to receive guided anti-tank weapon systems that can be used against armored vehicles, fast-moving transport of enemy. I think they will appreciate assistance with intelligence always. I mean, it's vital, of course, but mostly they will be focused now on weapons, to receive weapons that they will need for ground battles, right? To eliminate invading forces. So first and foremost, that is motors, also artillery, long-range artillery. Also for close-range combat is guided anti-tank missiles, manpads, by the way, for sure. And there are reports that Iran is purchasing manpads. Machine guns, right? Machine guns, mines, that kind of stuff, that kind of, maybe munition for rifles and those machine guns, so that they will distribute all the necessary volumes of weapons and munition throughout the country, right? Because this mosaic defense that Iran is implementing might make it's a good thing in terms of resisting, because you cannot decapitate such a defense formation, right? Because there is nothing to decapitate, actually, right? Those units will continue to operate on their own autonomously. And all you need to make sure that they will have necessary volume of weapons and munition and whatever else is needed. So that's, I think, what Iran will be more focused on now, on weapons for ground battles. When it comes to long-range missiles, I mean, they already proved to the whole world that they have all the necessary weapons to eliminate U.S. military assets throughout the region. I mean, dozens of U.S. military bases were targeted in 8 countries in the region. Tremendous damage was done to U.S. assets. Also, we were commenting the tough guy Trump was hiding in a catering container when they snuck him out of Turkey during the NATO meeting a few weeks ago because of their alleged Iranian death threat. What a cowboy, huh? And I have heard this report. I did not highlighted this report because I mean, updates are already too long, right? And I did not wanted to talk about Trump too much during the news segment. But yes, I mean, there are reports that Trump was actually, you know, um, secretly taken out of Turkey. They did not even use Air Force One, isn't it? So I don't know if there was actually any threat, or if there was just a, like, I don't know, panic attack on behalf of U.S. Secret Service or something. But yeah, I mean, that's quite something. They all love to act tough, isn't it? This Western ruling class, man. They all love to act tough. I don't know why. I mean, here in Russia, we have different attitude. No one wants our politicians to act like if they are some freaking bad boys or gangsters or the cowboys or something like that. No, they should act as serious people. That's what expectation is, that those politicians that are in the public field, right? They should act as a, they should not act, right? They should be serious people. That's all is required. Decent, educated, serious people. That's all is required. But if some of the politicians start acting like gangsters or the bad boys or something like that, oh, they will never have a chance, right? Never, because society not gonna like it, man. Because what the hell, right? But you see, in the Western, it's different, especially in the U.S. I mean, look how they talk. Look how they talk, language they use. It's, I don't know, man. It's like, as if they did never grow up, man. That's the impression I get, that if those people never actually grew up, their mind is still on the same level of development as when they were school kids or something. And they talk because, in specific ways, maybe because of it, right? I mean, how else can that be explained? Also, there was a difference. Uh, as I said, there were more super chats from Wayward, and also there is a super chat from Ometria, sir. Just give me a minute, dear friends, to highlight this. So, thank you, Edward, once again for your super chats and donations with the super chats on Rumble. So I will criticize Putin. Another goodwill gesture on Putin's part on Trump. I'm positive Trump will remember that next time he's planning on launching drone strikes on Putin's residence. Yes, many people were critical, actually. They were. I check the reactions. I'm monitoring Russian press, Russian channels in on internet, and well, very many people were upset that this was not an exchange of some sort that usually happens between the countries, but just like goodwill gesture or something. But yet again, if that person is actually ill and uh, if his health conditions are very serious, then in that case, I would not criticize Putin for releasing him. In that case, I would not criticize him. I'm critical enough of Putin's restraint policy and his, in my opinion, softer take on corruption, uh, on some other directions too. But in this particular case, I can't criticize him. If, of course, and I don't know for sure, but if, of course, that person is ill or something, um, I mean, let him Let him have his last days or months, or maybe he will live years. I don't know. Let him have his time with his family and friends. After all, he was not a murderer or something. He was arrested for assaulting law enforcement officers. I don't know what happened to him, what was going on in his mind at that point. If I remember correctly, he was behaving irrationally. He had a row with his girlfriend, something like that. Police intervened and he attacked police officers, and of course he would be detained. Man, you just this is not in America where you can run around and throw rocks on the police and demand their police to be defunded or some other crazy shit, man. Sorry for my language. This is Russia. You're not gonna mess around law enforcement officers, man. You're not gonna intervene in their work. If you do, you're gonna pay heavily for that, right? And that's the mistake that this person made. He attacked police officers and he was detained, man. But yet again, those police officers were not that badly harmed or something. So therefore, because he didn't committed a murder or that kind of heavy crime, and if his health is really jeopardized, then I would not criticize Putin if he used that as a basis for making this humanitarian decision. But we can have different opinions, of course. And you have a point. Trump not going to remember about this a goodwill gesture from Putin tomorrow. If he maybe he already forgot about it. Well, might be the case that he already forgot about it. Anyways, I mean, Putin did something positive, so I'll give him credit for that. Okay, Also, Wayward is saying that I've noticed one thing about Russian culture. A lot of times throughout the history, Russia has came to the rescue of other countries, but those very same countries end up stabbing Russia in the back. Well, you are absolutely correct, 100% correct, Wayward. I have said many times before that my people, right, and I'm not a Slavic origin, right? I'm a Georgian Ossetian, correct? So I'm descendant of Scytho-Sarmatians. First civilized, I mean, yeah, we can argue first major civilization on a European part of Russia and the modern Ukraine, and also Central and Eastern Europe. Scytho-Sarmatia was on large territory, very large territory, right? It was not the first civilization, but first major. Before Scytho-Sarmatians, there were Cimmerians, by the way, right? And Cimmerians were also related to Scytho-Sarmatians, I think, because many linguists, many experts, historians believe that Cimmerians that also have a state-like entity on the northern shores of the Black Sea, which eventually becomes Scytho-Sarmatian territory, that Cimmerians were also speaking a language that was a part of Iranian language family, as Scytho-Sarmatian languages were, right? Modern Ossetians, by the way, descendants of Sarmatians, right? Alans, they speak also Iranian language. Only people in Russia, either in the Caucasus, Northern Caucasus, or in Russia, generally speaking, that speak this language, right? That is member of Iranic language family. So Ossetians were saved by Russia, I will say, and Ossetians never betrayed Russia. Some others did, but Ossetians, Alans, never betrayed Russia, by the way. Modern Ossetians are proud Russians, right? They fight. A lot of them are fighting in the zone of special military operation. Yeah, Ossetians, it's one of those examples when Ossetians are truly proud member of Russia, and
Moscow relies on Ossetian, on these good, friendly, brotherly relationships, right, between the two peoples. There are some others, right? Other my people, Georgians. Georgians also were saved by Russia. I'm a strong believer of that. There would be no Georgia now, or the Georgian people, as we know it, if Russia did not intervene, right? If Russia did not went into modern Georgian territories and did not integrate those territories into Russian Empire first, and not just to do so, by the way. I mean, let's not forget that Russia fought Turkey, and Russia took from Turkey Ajaria, which is one of the most beautiful parts of Georgia. Russia took Ajaria, by the way, from Turkey and gave it to Georgia, not to itself, but to Georgia, right? And Russia also liberated some Srejavaheti region from Turkey and gave it to Georgia, not to itself. It didn't declare these territories to be its own. They give it to Georgia. That's how these territories are part of Georgia now. And so, yes, Georgians literally was saved by Russia, and I think on behalf of many Georgians, it was a moral betrayal. I mean, moral breakdown, right? On behalf of many Georgians, it was a total moral breakdown when they turned into freaking Russia haters under the influence of Western inhuman propaganda. You know, and unfortunately, yes, Georgia turned its back on Russia, and it did not end well for Georgia, isn't it? And I'm telling you, man, if no Russia, Georgians would not exist physically. They would not be Georgians, right? And I'm not exaggerating anything, because in Turkey, in the Trabzon area, in the Black Sea coast of Turkey, northern Turkey, which is, territory of ethnic Georgians. That's where ethnic Georgians were living, right? Tribes, Kartvelski tribes, correct? And modern Georgians are this. All of them are descendants of these Kartvelski tribes. And so there are more Georgians in numbers, right? There are more Georgians in that Trabzon area of Turkey than in Georgia itself. And you think those descendants of Georgians in Turkey maintain their ethnicity much, their culture much, their traditions much, religion? No, they did not. With a few exceptions. With a very few exceptions. Many of them actually are Turkish nationalists, believe it or not. Like Erdogan himself, who is ethnic Georgian, or descendant of the ethnic Georgians. So, unfortunately, it is true. It is absolutely true what you are saying, Weber, that many ethnicities that were literally saved by Russian people and Russian Empire, many of those ethnicities turned their back on Russia. And that's why I personally think Moscow should not be nice to anybody. Moscow should not be nice to anybody, and should not act as a humanitarian organization ever again. It's a mistake. Do business with everybody as strongly as possible. Be cold-blooded, man. Nothing personal, just business, because, well, you already have example, right? Your kindness, all the good that you do for all those people will mean nothing in generation or two. They're not going to care about it much, right? In most cases. Yet again, there are different examples also. Alans, Ossetians, by the way, right? That are also my people. They are safe. They exist. They exist because of Russia too, because
at the moment when Ossetian people, and these Ossetians were not occupied by Russia, Ossetians themselves decided that they're going to join Russian Empire. There was a gathering. They had their own political system, their own customs, right? How to deal with the things. So there was a gathering of this Alon Ossetian families, right? Clans, and they decided. They voted. They had a vote. They voted who is for and who is against sending an ambassador to St. Petersburg to basically join the Russian Federation. Right? Majority voted in favor of joining Russia, and that's how Ossetians joined Russia. Minority decided that they are against her. They want to stay independent. Rumors are that my ancestors were among those that voted against them and wanted to be fully independent. But because majority made decision, they could not do much about it. Russian Empire accepted to receive Ossetia into empire. Russian militaries were sent, and well, those families that were against her, they were not against Russia. They were against losing independence, right? So those families fought for their views, for their principles. They lost, obviously, and that's how those families end up being scattered throughout the different parts of our region. And as I said, the legend is that one part of my ancestors that survived that clash moved towards Digoria, also part of Ossetia, but Digoria joined Russia a little later than main part. So one part of my family went towards Digoria, and the other part went to Southern Caucasus, and that's how I was born in Georgia, for example, right? But yet again, majority made decision, and that was the customs, right, that they had, and majority's decision was implemented. So therefore, it is well known that Ossetia joined Russia by its own decision, which is factually accurate statement. And Ossetians, since then, by the way, are proud members of Russia, and never gonna stab Russia in the back, never. Not happening, man. Right? If I know anything, I know that. Or what? And by the way, reports are that a number of Ossetians, when Russia accepted Ossetia to join empire, was 85,000. Some reports suggest maximum 100,000. So nation, only descendants, direct descendants of this great Scytho-Sarmatian civilization. Alans, by the way, right? That were legendary part of a Sarmatian tribal union. This unique cultural and the ethnic group could probably would disappear if Russia did not accept Ossetians to join, and basically if Russia didn't save them. I don't think this small group of 80 to 100,000 people could survive on their own for longer, right? If Russia was not around, So yes, Russia literally saved many ethnicities, by the way, many ethnic groups, cultural groups, religious groups saved. And unfortunately, many of those groups, did not really demonstrate that they are grateful for this kindness of Russia. So therefore, my recommendation to Moscow: don't be nice, man. Don't be nice.
just the cold-blooded, calculated relationships with everybody, right? With everybody. Can be exceptions. Yet again, Ossetians, Alans demonstrated that there are exceptions. And Ossetians are proud members of Russian Federation. North Ossetia, Alania, by the way, is a proud part of Russian Federation, and Ossetians are proud Russians, right? But still, yet again, Ossetians are exception. Others, man, many others did not really act the same way, you know. So Georgia is still being pushed to join the war on Russia by the US. Western, one superpower, the US, still has its still has the ability to overthrow governments around the world and corrupt those countries. And also, you are on point, right? You are on point. You are on point, absolutely. Georgia still might be used against Russia by the Western ruling class. There is a real threat of that risk. No one can say that it cannot happen, because US did use Georgia against Russia in the past. It will try to use it again. You know? But as I mentioned, current ruling party in Georgia, Georgian Dream, even though they can be criticized for many things, at least they didn't start the war, either a civil war or war with Russia. I mean, first time since the independence, since the collapse of Soviet Union, this former Soviet Republic is enjoying peaceful decade. First time, can you imagine that? So for that, I can give a credit for Georgian Dream Party, which is a ruling party, but still, politicians from that party are also not really that clever or wise. And I demonstrated, I mean, language with which Kobakhidze is talking about the situation between Tbilisi and Moscow. This is not a language of professional, right? Come on, man, what are you doing? But they don't think about all the nuances, man, and they have to, because politics is already nuanced, right? And you might use one wrong word and ruin everything. So, you know, also, dear friends, there was, as I mentioned, a super chat from Ometrias. Thank you very much, Wayward, for your super chats and for initiating this interesting conversation. Thank you very much. And there is a super chat from Ometrias. And I'm reacting, dear friends. My reactions are first reactions, right? I have not read these super chats because when I would, right? I'm reacting on them as they came, as I'm seeing those super chats as you see, like first time. So it's first reactions. So Ometrias, thank you very much for your super chat and donation through dollar donation through Rumble. And Ometrias is commenting, I endorse your sentiments on the Scottish independence. However, the Scottish National Party has been compromised since Alex Salmond's departure as a First Minister, has stonewalled independence quest. And yes, I mean, when there was an independence referendum on independence, Ometrias, in 2014, that was, isn't it? Or yeah, I mean, when there was a referendum, I was quite sure that in those circumstances, London will allow United Kingdom to, lose Scotland, right? It's just not happening. It was a show, but still very risky show. I was surprised that London actually authorized those referendums. Of course, they had all the instruments in the place to manipulate with the numbers if numbers did not come out as they want them, right? But still, the risk was big. And after that, of course, London will do whatever is necessary to make sure that Edinburgh will never ever, at least in the foreseeable future, gonna be in a position to go for this fundamental quest, right, of independence. And I don't know, of course, like internal nuances and details, either in regards to Scottish National Party, which was pushing for independence, isn't it? Neither about some, I don't really know much about internal politics in Scotland, but as I said, um, you know, I will be in total support of Scottish independence, right? For my reasons. I will support Scottish people to go independent. After all, man, they were treated by London so badly, man, so badly that if I was a Scot, yeah, I know where my stand would be, right? So, one day, and by the way, Scotland gonna become one of the richest countries in Europe immediately, right? Immediately. London is refusing to develop, for example, oil and gas fields, isn't it? Of cost of Scotland. And if Scotland becomes independent, then Edinburgh might say, you know what? Let's go for it, man. Right? We can be as rich as Norway. Let's drill just all over the place, right? Let's use this stuff. Scotland probably will join EU, right? Will try to benefit from you as much as possible, as Ireland does, and yeah, they will be just fine. But I mean, London not gonna allow this to happen. I mean, British ruling class will die, but never allow Scotland to get free. I just don't see it happening, man. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. And also, Wayward is commenting. There was two more super chats from Wayward. Let me react on these super chats too. Thank you very much, Wayward, for super chats on Rumble and the donations. And Wayward is commenting, those who deserve Russia's hand of friendship should get it. Those who need to be reminded how hard pistol to their side of their heads feels like should be reminded by Russia. Cold hard realities. I'm on the same page. I'm on the same page. Russia was just too kind to everybody. I know Western propaganda loves to portray Russia as some sort of extra aggressive or ultra aggressive country, but in reality, Russia is become this unique civilization that actually saves the peoples, right? Saves them and gives them these protected environments in which they can thrive. If my ancestors, by the way, when they joined Russia, descendants of Scytho-Sarmatians, by the way, Alans, were 80, 90, up to 100,000. Now, according to different stats, but according to some data, number of Ossetians are around 1 million. Vast majority, 7 to 900,000. Mostly 700,000 plus in Russia, and there are also a significant number in Georgia. They are also Ossetians spread all over the world, obviously, right? They're in Turkey, big diaspora, and in other places, right? So you see, this
ethnicity was on the edge of extinction. And Russia not just saved it, but Ossetia is thriving. Ossetian people are thriving. Numbers are growing from extinction to get to somewhere around a million number. That's that's good progress, by the way, right? And many ethnicities were saved by Russia. And that's why I'm saying, man, don't watch, don't listen to Western, to the propaganda of the Western ruling class, because they are just a freaking lying, man. Russia is this unique civilization that actually does enormous level of good and kind, man. Of course, there were wars too, and all that kind of stuff. But in general terms, man, this is unique civilization, absolutely unique civilization. And I think Moscow have to be less. I'm not saying Moscow should be aggressive, really, but should be a bit more pragmatic, right? Because you see, too much of kindness is not always guarantees that those people are going to remember and be grateful. So therefore, you know what, focused on yourself, focused on actual friends, right? And that is that. And be good with others too, right? As long as this party or that party is not hostile, be good with them. But don't go crazy good, right? Don't go like in extreme levels, as Moscow or St. Petersburg has done numerous times in the past. Russia saved Finnish people. Many in the Western world probably has no freaking idea that Russian Empire literally saved the Finnish people. They would not exist, man. Swedes will exterminate them. Finland was occupied by Sweden, right? And Swedes were treating them like, worse than they were treating animals. Correct? And Russia freed Finland, and Finland was privileged from slaves of Sweden. Finns become a privileged part of Russian Empire, Russian society. Russia created the state for them. And in Finnish, you might be surprised, by the way, but in Finnish judiciary, which is created by Russians, right, to nowadays, you can read, right, that this decision or that decision is based on a legal framework that dates back to Russian Empire. Russia saved Finnish people, man. And how Finns responded? You know how, isn't it? You know how. Finnish military formations were actively used during the Bolshevik Revolution. Finland gained independence straight away, right? Because Bolsheviks destroyed Russian Empire, right? And for whatever reason, they just give the Finland independence, just go away. I don't think Finns actually wanted it at the time, but Bolsheviks, probably those Bolsheviks, right? Early Bolsheviks, that most of whom were assets of the Western powers, Germany, England, US even. Those Bolsheviks, they had their orders. So therefore, they give independence to Finland, to Poland. Poland used to be part of empire too. Russian Empire, correct? And okay, Poland had its own history of not just being a state, by the way, but being an empire, right? This Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth was nothing less than an empire. It was an empire. But Finns, they didn't really have a state experience because they were enslaved by Swedes. And Russia freed them. Russia
gifted them this unique status of privileged status inside the Russia, right? And well, they betrayed Russia when they participated in the Bolshevik Revolution. Then they betrayed Russian people again when they joined German Nazis. You know, and participate in a genocide of people in Leningrad during the Leningrad siege. So you tell me now, did Finns appreciate that they've been saved by Russia and the Russian people? Many of them probably don't even know nowadays, right? Because who knows what they've been taught in the school, man? Who knows what kind of nonsense is being written in Finnish history books, Also, we were just commenting. Unfortunately, Putin is not the man who installs fear in the hearts of the Russia's enemies. He actually invites ridicule and contempt from the West. Russia needs a fresh, younger leader. Just my 2 cents. Well, I think, yeah, we need a strong leader. Not just strong on the words, by the way, because talk is cheap. I think we need a strong leader, strong principle, justice, just leader. Yeah, I'm all in for that. And hopefully Putin will choose such a person to replace him, because that's how system works, really, right? Next Russian president is going to be whoever will be appointed as a successor by Putin himself. And I hope he will choose wisely someone who has a moral strength, moral stance, principle stance, and who is strong not just on the words, but who gonna be strong in actions too. I hope so. And there are talks about several people, among them young ones too, relatively young, obviously, being mentioned there. So we will find out. We will find out. But yeah, I think we need a actual strongman. And I know Western propaganda tries to depict Putin as to be dictator and this and that. Putin is a much more Democrat and liberal, by the way, that majority of these Western so-called leaders that hate alternative opinions or their freedom of speech, or that hate everybody and everything. Compared to Western leaders, Putin is like truly Democrat, right? And a liberal. Honestly, man. Am I exaggerating, really? People being jailed in UK for posting on some social platforms caricatures of the prime minister. I mean, for God's sake, can you believe that? You cannot now post freaking caricatures about and there was attempts to do the same, and people being harassed in France too for saying or draw whatever they wanted about Macron, and drawing whatever they wanted to draw about him. What the hell? So yes, I think actual good strong leader, very important to know, with moral principle stance, actual stance, right? Will be great. And hopefully Putin will choose such candidate when he will decide that it's time for him to go, because that's the only way we're going to have another president. If anybody thinks that someone going to emerge tomorrow and become super popular and then become a president of Russia, it does not work that way. We just don't play no games in a way Western ruling class does, right? When they spend a tremendous number of money, and there are a lot of technologies is involved around this theater that they do, isn't it? and they create these fake parties, when they create these fake candidates, that they spend a lot on this show of elections, while in reality, it's a system that decides who gonna system and whatever forces are behind the systems, right? Actual decision makers that decide who's gonna be the president or the prime minister, and what policy is gonna be implemented. So we just don't play no games, man. Whoever Putin will appoint as his successor gonna be next president. Period. And then there is no need to go for extremely expensive shows and to lie to anybody. No, we know what's up, man. And it's more, I mean, it's we may not be happy about it. I mean, we can say, well, it's not fair. Yeah, it's not fair. But that's how elites do, man. You know, that's how elites do since forever. And at least we are not messing around. We are not lying to ourselves. At least we are not living in an illusion, unlike a majority in the West. And so, dear friends, I think I reacted on all super chats. I mean, I can see capital letters here from Nidish. Levan, do you travel to North Ossetia after you become a Russian citizen? Is it ceded to Russian Federation as well? Do I? I think you are mixing South and North Ossetia. North Ossetia is Russian Federation, part of Russian Federation, like since forever, since they joined Russia. They are part of Russia, never left her, never have the intention to left. They are proud Russians, Ossetians, descendants of Alans. And I've been in North Ossetia, of course, many times. We lived there, by the way, since, I mean, at least 10 years. In past 20 years, let's say, or 15, 17 years, we lived in North Ossetia, Alania, like at least 10 years, on and off, but overall, at least 10 years, I think, right? So, of course, we were there. Unfortunately, this year, I mean, we went into North Ossetia, Vladikavkaz, capital of North Ossetia. Alania, we went there last year. My mom lives there, by the way, right, in Vladikavkaz, in North Ossetia, Alania. And we went last year, but this year, unfortunately, we cannot afford it. So, yeah. Otherwise, we would go. I mean, happily, man. It's a wonderful republic. I recommend everybody to visit North Ossetia, Alania of Russia, Autonomous Republic of Russia. It's wonderful there, by the way. Great mountains, I mean, everything. But yeah, this year we can't. Maybe next year we will manage to go to North Ossetia, Alania. There is South Ossetia that separated itself from Georgia, and Russia has recognized. And I have not been in South Ossetia since we end up in Russia, since 2009 when we end up in Russia. And South Ossetia, even though there was several referendums in South Ossetia to join with positive answers to join Russian Federation, Moscow is not accepting South Ossetia to join. And I think one of the reasons why Moscow is not in a hurry to accept South Ossetia and Abkhazia in its, as a part of Russia, because Moscow probably would prefer South Ossetia, Abkhazia, and Georgia to negotiate with each other and to go for some sort of a political solution to finally end their conflict between them, right? And the way to go forward, as I already said, is a confederation. And Moscow would help, man. But topic is very difficult, very heavy topic. And I think Tbilisi have to be initiator of the dialogue around the subject, right? Because Tbilisi is bigger and stronger, right? In between these three, Tbilisi, Tkhinvali, Sokhum. So Tbilisi have to initiate this. They have to take a leading role, a responsibility. But as of now, I see no politicians in Georgia that are able to go for it, man. You know, so and was there? And dear friends, sir, also there was a super chat from Wayward. Thank you very much for another super chat, Wayward. And comment is, no, you are not exaggerating. You seem to have far more freedoms and democracy in Russia than we have in the West. What we have in the US is an oligarchy masqueraded as democracy. And I mean, yet again, there is no ideal countries in this world, isn't it? There is pros and cons everywhere. But I think for a living, Russia is objectively place to be. A much better country for a living for families that actually, welcome normalcy, right? For traditional families with traditional values, that we say this way, Russia is a best place to be. Much more comfortable. I think this is my personal opinion. Much more comfortable than any of those Western countries, man, where your life can be destroyed if you say single sentence that will offend someone somewhere, right? I mean, this is crazy, man. What's going on in the West? Scary, actually, So at least we don't have that kind of nonsense, So, um, of course, there will be some stuff in the West that we might don't have or be behind, but in general terms, I think for life, Russia is a much more comfortable country for traditional families than any Western country. I mean, that's my opinion. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing, Wayward. And this is it for now. This is it for now. Thank you very much, dear friends, for your attention, for your support. If you have not liked the video until now, please do so if you find this program interesting and informative. And well, about tomorrow, dear friends, tomorrow is my older daughter's birthday, so I'll be able to make first update for sure, I think, if there is no technical issues. I don't know about live stream, though, because yet again, my daughter's birthday, so we will plan something. So therefore, I don't know about tomorrow's live stream, dear friends, but I will try my best to have at least first news update early in the morning, and I try my best to make for you informative program there. Thank you very much once again. Have a wonderful day and take care. Bye.